The First World War, also known as the Great War, was a catastrophic conflict that took place from 1914 to 1918. It involved millions of soldiers and civilians from various countries and was responsible for the deaths of millions of people. Despite its significance, most of the images we have of the war are in black and white, which can make it difficult to fully grasp the magnitude of the conflict. However, recent discoveries of rare color photographs from the era have provided a new perspective on the war, allowing us to see it in a different light. These remarkable images showcase soldiers on the front lines and civilians struggling to survive, offering a vivid and unique perspective on a war that has often been portrayed in a stark and monochromatic manner. The use of color brings the mud, blood, and devastation of the war to life and offers a glimpse into the daily experiences of those who lived through this dark time in human history. The color photographs from the First World War offer a glimpse into the humanity of those who fought in the conflict. We see soldiers trying to maintain a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos of war, sharing moments of laughter and camaraderie. These images remind us that those who fought in the war were real people with families, friends, and aspirations beyond the battlefield. The causes of the war can be traced back to the increasing diplomatic tensions between the European great powers in the early 20th century. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, by a Bosnian Serb named Gavrilo Princip on June 28, 1914, was the spark that ignited the conflict. Austria-Hungary held Serbia responsible and declared war on July 28. Russia came to Serbia's defense, and soon defensive alliances drew in Germany, France, and Britain. Germany's initial strategy in 1914 was to first defeat France and then attack Russia, but this plan failed. By the end of 1914, the Western Front had devolved into a continuous line of trenches stretching from the English Channel to Switzerland, setting the stage for a long and brutal conflict that would claim the lives of millions of soldiers and civilians. The Eastern Front of the First World War was more fluid than the Western Front, but neither side could gain a decisive advantage, despite numerous costly offensives. Attempts to break the stalemate led to fighting in the Middle East, the Alps, the Balkans, and overseas colonies, which drew in additional countries such as Bulgaria, Romania, and Greece. In April 1917, the United States entered the war on the side of the Allies. Meanwhile, the Bolsheviks seized power in the Russian October Revolution and made peace with the Central Powers in early 1918, freeing Germany from the Eastern Front. Germany then launched an offensive in the West in March 1918, hoping to achieve a decisive victory before significant numbers of American troops arrived. However, the offensive failed, leaving the German Imperial Army exhausted and demoralized. When the Allies took the offensive in August 1918, they could not be stopped. The German army was in full retreat, and by November, the war was effectively over. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed the Armistice of Compiègne, ending the fighting on the Western Front and marking the end of the First World War. The majority of casualties during the First World War occurred on the Western Front, where soldiers on both sides dug in and fought from fortified positions. The fighting was characterized by brutal trench warfare, where soldiers faced constant artillery fire, machine gun fire, and poison gas attacks. The harsh conditions of the trenches also led to widespread disease and illness. The war also saw significant casualties on the Eastern Front, where Russian forces faced off against the German Empire and its allies. The Eastern Front was characterized by more mobile warfare, but was no less deadly. The war also had a significant impact on civilian populations, with many people caught in the crossfire and subjected to bombing raids and other forms of violence. The impact of the First World War on casualties was felt long after the conflict ended. Many soldiers who survived the war returned home with physical injuries and psychological trauma, leading to a wave of disability and mental health issues. The war also had a significant impact on families and communities, with millions of people around the world losing loved ones and facing the aftermath of the conflict. The aftermath of the First World War also saw significant political and economic changes. The war had left much of Europe in ruins, with entire cities destroyed and economies in shambles. The Treaty of Versailles imposed heavy reparations on Germany, leading to economic and political instability that contributed to the rise of the Nazi Party and the outbreak of World War II. The war also led to significant changes in social attitudes and roles. Women played a more prominent role in the workforce during the war, taking on jobs that were previously reserved for men. This paved the way for greater gender equality and women's rights in many countries. The war also had a significant impact on art and culture, with many artists and writers responding to the devastation and trauma of the conflict in their work. The war inspired new artistic movements, such as Dadaism and Surrealism, that rejected traditional forms and sought to reflect the chaos and dislocation of the modern world.